18. The podcast. Play PSVR2. The podcast. My hair? Glorious. My throat? Strep. But we're not going to let that stop us tonight because there are things to discuss. There is a game to review. There is news to comb through. There are sales, guys. There's finally some sales to drop on you. And we have the greatest judge of all time here in the house when it comes to sales. Should you or should you not? Almost always should you not buy a game. I'm talking about my man, Adam. How you doing, Adam?
You have strep, and I swear I have rabies because I am insatiably thirsty since last night. I can't get enough. But tonight I'm still thirsty. Thirsty for content, but we're struggling because we're pushing through for you, the people. Alex, right off the bat, I am sick of just taking one for the team and drinking horrible gamer juices. Well, you're drinking milk and seltzer water and Aquafina. So I'm stepping down from the position of horrible gamer juices. I got me a little rum and coke. I've got me some what we called in college douche water. It's Icelandic.
Is it like actually water from a douche?
Exactly. A pH of 6.9. Very nice. But I love it, dude. I'm just going to be sipping all night. I hope you have something disgusting. You said you were going to go to the Asian market. Question is, did you?
Here's the thing, Adam. You call me the one-upper, but I can't help but be a one-upper when you constantly set the bar so low to make it so easy for me to step over you, squash you, and achieve what you're unable to achieve. That's right. I went to the grocery store, I got some drinks, and I've come out hot today with Pennywort drink.
No way. No
Pennywort
way.
drink. Yes, this is Bebida de Centella Asiatica. Pennywort drink, straight from the Filipino market. I'm going to down this. You couldn't do it. I'm going to open this bad boy up. I'm going to drink it. And you're going to be dismayed at what a lack of courage
I hope
you
it's
have.
the same. Don't immediately,
Nope, I'm gonna nurse
Take
it.
a sip. Let me know if you think it tastes like crap.
Here's the thing they don't tell you. In the Philippines, you have to have a toe knife to open your cans because this thing is...
Is that Always Sunny in Philadelphia reference?
It is. It
Very
is.
nice.
But
Very
this is also
nice.
a knife that I
Can
scrape
you
out my
tell
toe
me who
with.
I was right there?
Yeah, you're a busted version of your Chat GPT version of Borat.
Very nice. Yeah, okay, here we go.
It tastes like plant, tastes a lot like plants. It tastes like I just mowed my lawn and mixed it up.
Yep, yeah, that's it. It's bad, isn't it?
It's sweet. There's a lot of sugar in here, but the aftertaste is what gets you. After the sweet water goes down, you just have front lawn hanging out in your mouth, and then you live with that.
After the Fall is a game that I'm never going to play again because you were like, get it, it's fun. You play twice, and you don't play games anymore. So, great, I spent $30 on crap. If that game's on sale, don't buy it. It's not, don't worry. Alex, we need to talk about VR Skater because first thing, I have to bring this up, and I don't want to be a negative Nelly. Why is there so much information? Why is there a PlayStation blog about this game? It's not a AAA title. I mean, it almost looks like a fine game. I'll play it, but it doesn't look like something that PlayStation is like, wow, that is a type of game we need to promote. Is that me? I'm confused here.
I think a little bit like when we've discussed it in the past, I don't think it was an official PlayStation announcement. There might have been a trailer dropped and we were like, let's talk about it. This time they announced the release date, June 21st, sooner than I expected. And they released a trailer and actually showed somebody playing the game a little bit in that trailer, which is cool. I think part of it is because people are worried about the library not getting new games, right? Like that PSVR 1 at some point just became almost a desert of new releases. So I think Sony is hopefully just trying to keep that calendar, full of like a game once a week, once every other week or something like that with a handful of games coming out that you can get excited about. I personally think this game looks pretty fun. I like it because it's trying something new that people haven't really done in VR. Watching the guy play it when in the trailer, they actually showed somebody how he moves when he's playing it. It seems like it's going to be intuitive. It seems like it's going to be engaging. And they also showed, it looked like it's not just like an on-rails type thing. Maybe it is, and it's just getting passed by me, but it seems like it's a bit more freeform than I expected. So the initial trailer was interesting, but I'm actually excited about the launch of this game coming out. If they pull it off, if it works, then this will be a fun game to kind of skate around. What other game is doing something like this, Adam? What other game in VR is attempting this kind of thing?
There's a reason they don't attempt it because it's not going to work. I mean, you have to look down the entire time. If you watch the guy who was playing in the trailer, whole time he was looking down. And I mean, I know you have to. There's no way around it. If you skate in real life, unless you're going in a straight line, you're also looking down. Like that's just how it is. I just don't see this translating well into virtual reality when you're not jumping. So it's just moving buttons. I might as well play Tony Hawk in first person view and just wear the headset. It's literally going to be no different.
Right, and that would be fun. I think they tried first person view in Tony Hawk and it didn't work very well because Tony Hawk's not designed in VR. But this is something that I could see. Obviously, the developers probably tried this out like an alpha version of the game and decided it is engaging, it is a fun thing. Let's put money and effort into making this an actual product. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping the idea didn't come first and they put money behind it and was like, well, we got to make a game somehow. I'm hoping they kind of tested this out and was like, this is fun and enjoyable. Let's make a game out of it. But I've just the buzz around it that I've seen from people who have played it seems to be relatively positive, and it looks more polished than I expected. So I have an open mind. I have an open heart for skateboarding in my body.
The good news for you is that if you want Tony Hawk in first person view, you're going to like the game. I think really it's going to be very close to that. I mean, it may not be as polished as Tony Hawk or whatever like that, but I don't want to do that. I want something original. I want something, I mean, it is different. It is original, but I don't know. This just isn't the type of game that I want to play. I'm going to be honest. If we get to review it, I'll give it to you. I'm not going to buy it because here's the issue, Alex.
Oh, big surprise. Big surprise.
No. Let me speak. It comes out June 21st. I purchased the game. I play it day 1. I play it day 2. Boom. Game over. Day 3 on January 23rd, C-Smash comes out. All other games irrelevant.
Cease to exist. Yeah.
I'm not exactly. I'm not gonna spend $30 or however much it's going to be to play it for 2 days and then let a far superior game overtake it and then I never play it again. I'm not gonna get After the Fold again, Alex.
I just want to rewind a bit to when you said you're looking for originality. You're looking for something new.
I said that this was original. You're right.
But I just you said that you're looking for originality. This is just ironic, coming hot off the heels of your glowing review of Afterlife VR, maybe one of the most derivative concepts of VR video gaming. Every horror game has done what Afterlife VR is doing, but you absolutely loved it. Do you want something original, Adam, or do you want something that you can succeed at? I think you just want something that you can succeed at.
No,
I think Adam just likes to succeed.
And I admit it, I liked Afterlife VR probably because there are no other horror games on VR. And for other than Resident Evil, which again is its whole freaking stratosphere of its own, to have and be in a horror game in the better graphics with the adaptive triggers, with the new technology felt good. So you're right. The game could have been a big heaping pile of crap, but because I was in horror again, I was going to like it. So it had that going for it. Here in 2 years, will I still say, wow, Afterlife VR? Let's be honest, probably not. And we even admitted that when we put it in the list. So
Fair enough.
I like the originality, but I want originality like Stifled, like maybe even Here They Lie, or I hope I'm wrong. I know you're gonna like it because you like every freaking game you play, and that's good because in May a game I mentioned this a while back, Hubris. Mm-hmm. And they had one release or a trailer come out, maybe a little article. I don't remember. We talked about it a little bit. I totally forgot about it. It's actually coming out in May. I don't know the hard release date, but it's confirmed that they're using all the big boys, the foveated rendering, the adaptive triggers, the headset rumble, the 3D audio. It looks like a pretty decent concept. maybe nothing super novel, but at this point, I'm going to be honest. I haven't seen much new content for the PSVR, so I'm kind of hankering for it. I know May's going to be busy with Walkabout VR and Hubris is coming out.
Another Fisherman's Tale.
Another Fisher's Tale, Red Matter. I've heard Red
Yeah,
Matter.
Red Matter 2. Yeah,
Yep.
they're it kind of slipped through the cracks that maybe that's coming out in May, but I still don't think they've officially announced the release date. But man, that's a heavy hitter to drop along with Walkabout Mini Golf. It's like, why? Maybe stagger that a bit. Yeah.
I know that, and I don't know if it's how much Sony has to. I don't know if they get to dictate that or how much they can, right? But I wish they would. If you'd have Red Matter or Walkabout come out a week ago, everyone plays the crap out of it. They love it. It's something new. You bought it. Now they're all going to come out at the same time. And I feel like they would make more money that way, right? Like I'm more likely to spend $30, $40 twice within, 1 month span separated rather than dropping $80 in one sitting just because you're like, I just spent $80 on games. But $40 isn't, that bad.
Yeah. No, you have a point there. Because I mean that's the boat I'm in. I bought a bunch of games at launch, haven't had time to play them, and now they're going to go on sale, and it's like, dang it, I should have just waited for them to go on sale. No, but speaking of hubris, this is a game we did talk about it. Mostly, I was poking fun at just like the sci-fi story tropes of like, yeah, the OOO organization, whatever. This game came out on PC VR, and the trailers looked really good, but then when people played it, they were kind of disappointed because it's like there wasn't much enemy variety. The gameplay wasn't great and engaging. It just seemed kind of like boilerplate VR first-person shooter sci-fi stuff. However, I did read that there's been a lot of updates made to the game since it came out on PCVR. Like the developer's been really proactive in making it better since its launch, and sounds like they're rolling all of those updates into this PSVR2 version. The better version of the game is now being launched, and then on top of that, they're putting all this PSVR2 specific stuff, which gives me a bit more hope. I watched the blog post that they posted, I think today or yesterday, showed like some animated gifs of some of the gameplay. Reminded me a bit of like Far Cry-ish type stuff or Crysis type, just sci-fi first-person shooter, but you're like swimming on like a beach and you're shooting aliens with guns and things like improved reloading and aiming. That's kind of cool that they saw that was an issue and they fixed it. Adaptive triggers, the headset haptics, all these cool things that are going to be in there, and they noted more enemy variety. So it's like they're hearing the critiques loud and clear and they're making it better. So at first I had written this game off for PSVR 2 based on the PC version. Now I'm a bit more optimistic about it. More optimistic about VR Skater, but this is, as somebody who enjoys VR first-person shooters, it seems like we don't have much variety in that aspect. I don't even know if we have a good sci-fi first-person shooter yet in VR. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sci-fi, no, we don't.
Yeah, we don't have any. It's all like military type stuff, right? So yeah, I can kind of get down with this. Again, it might fall into the Afterlife situation where it's the only game in town in a sense, so it gets a lot of I don't know, a lot of good benefit from being the first one to hit the market.
What I'm wondering is, and I've blanked, what's the studio for Farpoint?
Oh, Crytek Studio. Oh, Farpoint. No. Farpoint is. Oh,
I
it
know.
begins with an I. I can't believe I forgot.
I can see their logo and I can't remember anyhow. What are they doing? Like, how have they not had a game come out yet? Because I mean, Farpoint was great, and I know they were working on stuff.
They made a game, like a multiplayer game for the Quest, like a team shooter, which seemed to be like, why would you release that then as PSVR 2 is about to come out, like a multiplayer arena shooter? Like, there's so many of those already. Why would you do that? But they did it, and I haven't heard anything about it since. But they weren't purchased by Sony, were they? For some reason, I thought they were purchased by Sony, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I thought they were too. That's why I'm wondering, why is there not
Impulse
something
here.
from there? Because you mentioned sci-fi shooters, and yeah, it was kind of a ish along that lines, and we're missing like a Farpoint type of space exploration or sci-fi. And right now would be a good time to slot something like a Farpoint in. And I just really thought by now we would have had something or at least been told it's coming real soon. But I mean, obviously not. I mean, disappointing news. You see anything there on the interwebs?
Yeah, it's Impulse Gear. That's the company. So
Ah, that's it.
I
Yes.
need to give
Okay.
them a shout out. That I mean, Farpoint was wonderful. Then they made a game called Larcenauts, which was only on the Quest, and again, I haven't heard very much of it since. I don't see anything here about like Sony purchasing them. I'm probably getting them confused with another company. I like to think that they have to be working on something, but yeah, it's kind of been quiet. So maybe there's something to be announced soon. I mean, it's getting to the summer almost, where we're going to be hearing things, getting announcements in this kind of like E3 ish type time of the year. So hopefully we hear something soon. Although you did remind me, Adam, um, Vertigo 2. This is a game that came out on PCVR. Vertigo. It's a game that came out on PCVR. People loved it. It was like a low rent version of Half-Life that was really fun. The sequel just came out on PCVR. People enjoyed it. They say it's one of the best PCVR games out there, excluding maybe Half-Life Alyx. The developer just commented and said, yeah, Oculus wanted me to make a Quest 2 version. I had to politely decline, but I am looking forward to the option of porting this to PSVR 2. So I just wanted to mention that. That's a bit of news. Not too much to go on, but the developer seems very keen and interested in bringing this very celebrated game that just came out on PCVR to PSVR 2. So that's a little bit of news that we can hang our hat on and hope for.
Yeah. Something else that people can, I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already have a PSVR 2. But if for some reason you don't and you just like us, which isn't too far, it's not too far of a cry, right? I mean, we rock.
Yeah.
But they're saying soon PSVR 2s will be in stock in local retailers. And we've talked about this, Alex. In my opinion, I understand initially why it was only PlayStation Direct, but this is far too long. I feel like it should have been in local retailers for a while. I think they need demo stations. Like, it's great that it's in the store, but what they really need are those demo stations, because you can see it and you'll see, oh, there's PlayStation VR 2, and then, oh, I need a PS5, and then it's next to a Quest, which is what, a fifth of the price. And they're, if you don't know anything and you're just like, I want to test VR, of course, you're not going to get the PSVR 2. But if they have a demo station like Best Buy had when we got convinced that PSVR was legit, like, there's a lot of demos out there, then people can see, oh, okay, that's different. Question is, what games would you have them try? But that's a secondary concern. But regardless, at least it's a step in the right direction. Doesn't alter or change, do anything for us, Alex. But I would like to see more units get sold. That way, maybe we can get some exclusive games, some unique games that aren't just ports from, Quest, Rift, all that crap.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's coming. Like Quest 2 development seems to be dying down a bit, just because people are reaching the limits of what they can do. Like Zenith is turning off their Quest 1 support. So it does seem like the generation is slowly shifting, and PSVR 2 is probably going to get a lot of love in that vein. Having the headset sold in a store has the other benefit. Sorry, I just had a brain fart there. Has the other benefit of being able to return the console, right? If something happens. So say you are somebody who wants to try it, even if there's not a demo station. If I buy from Sony Direct, even though there's probably a return process, I still feel a bit committed and locked in. Like, it's not going to be easy for me. If I suddenly discover I get sick playing VR, I can't return it. Whereas now you have people who, PlayStation 5 is selling like hotcakes, right? It's just set a record for quarter 1 sales. Now you have, somebody walk through the store. Little Timmy has a PS5. He needs a gift for graduation. He needs a gift for XYZ. Maybe he'll like PSVR 2. You have a lot of those situations popping up. And then you also got people getting the tax return money, or they have a bunch of gift cards laying around. They need something to do, or they're going to trade in a boatload of games for whatever reason. And now they have credit they can spend on the PSVR 2. So you're right. I think it's going to help move units. I think it's going to get it out there a bit. Because even before PSVR 2 came out, I was playing against somebody in After the Fall, and they just on a whim got a PSVR 1 just because it was in the store. They didn't even know PSVR 2 was about to come out. And so it's like, I guess I just have to remember that's a large part of the gaming space that people are just walk into the store, see whatever's in the store, and then buy things based on what they see in the store. And yeah, you got to have VR2 units in stock to capitalize on that.
No doubt. I wonder what the secondary market for a PSVR 2 is. I've tried to look. I don't see many people selling them. I mean, there's not a ton of them out there. I see a lot of like scalpers trying to sell them, but I don't see any like secondhand. Hey, here's a PSVR 2. I tried it. I don't like it. I'm trying to sell it, which I mean is good. Hopefully, people buy it and they like it. It's a big enough investment. Hopefully, you at least put the time in. But moving on, Drums Rock. Tell me,
Yeah.
I don't know this band. I don't know this DLC, and I don't know how hyped people should be about it.
It is not a band, Adam. Blasphemous is a game. So, Drums Rock VR.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Drums Rock VR is getting its first DLC, free DLC add-on pack. It's adding 2 new songs. It is called the Blasphemous DLC. So people who don't know, Blasphemous is one of these mini games. It's like a side-scrolling Dark Souls type game, but it also kind of has some elements to it that are like classic Castlevania. It's kind of draped in this like gothic horror, like Catholic horror or something like that. Pretty cool game. It's on Switch. I played it on Switch. I think it's on PS4 now too. But I really like this. That one, they launched DLC. It's free, so that's 2 new songs right there on the bank for you. But I also really like that this DLC is based on like a video game, which is a good route to take if you're having trouble tying down licensed music, real songs from real musicians. Bring in some video game songs and give us some drum tracks on that. I think that's a great way to go. I mean, imagine how fun it would be to play Drums Rock VR if you're playing some of those absolute bangers from the Astrobot soundtrack. Like there's some
From
songs.
Kingdom Hearts. Yeah.
I mean, I hate Kingdom Hearts, but you're right. Some of those songs would probably be really fun to drum out to. So I like that that's the first step they've taken in this space. And that was one of the things I hoped for when we reviewed Drums Rock. Was like, I want to see more songs come out. I want to download more songs. We're getting it already, and it's a great first step. So awesome. Go out and try it. I haven't touched it yet, but I look forward to, twirling the sticks and banging the drums. I think there's new cosmetics too that you're getting in this DLC to fit that blasphemous motif. So a lot of this like gothic horror type drumsticks, spiky, religious totem drumsticks. It's just cool. It's a cool idea, cool execution, and I'm glad to see it.
Yeah. I've been playing Pavlov lately, Alex, and I have to admit the game is very good. It's one of the few games I feel that are under the fun category for PSVR 2. Like it really is. It's just fun. I'm noticing a couple issues though. So after the latest update, I've had not great tracking, not game breaking tracking issues, but I'm seeing controller drift. I'm seeing just a little lack of accuracy. And I don't know if it's laggy. I don't know if it's just, and I've tried it with my light on, my light off, the TV on, TV off, different positions. So I'm not aiming directly at a light source. It's not like it's not game breaking, but I never had those issues before that update. So that's interesting. The bigger issue is, however, online, and I know, the standard will get good. These people, dude, every death is a headshot. And if you don't headshot someone, you're done. I played gun game, and probably by the end of the game, I had I don't know, I'm going to say 20 deaths. Seriously, like 16 of them were headshots. I mean, it's just, and it's immediate. It's not like, you get shot in the head and you have time to move. You played the game, one headshot, you're done. Unless maybe if there's a pistol, you get an extra shot. But the people are so fast, they'll just bang, bang, and you're gone anyhow.
Are you not buying the helmet at like the start of the I guess you can't do that in gun game, can you?
Yeah, no, not in gun game. Yeah. The others are a little more forgiving, you're right. But gun game is the easiest one to hop in and play immediately. And if you don't really want to talk to people, you can just do your thing and you don't need to really communicate. So I like playing that one. And they really need levels, right? I mean, good for these people who, don't have lives, don't have friends, just play Pavlov all the time and are so good that they need literally one second opening and you're headshotted. Touche to them, man. They're very good. Very good respect, Way to go. I'm
Good
proud of you, man.
respect.
I'm proud of you.
Good respect, yeah.
But I don't. They need something for the people who are just like average, because it starts like I left one game because it was just every time it was a headshot. I have no chance unless I sneak up on someone. And that's fun when you can do it, but you can't go through a whole gun game. I mean, you would have 25 deaths and 3 kills if you only relied on sneaking up on people. So I don't know. Have you run into that issue? Maybe I just suck. And
I mean, this is something I saw coming, right? Because if you play Firewall 0 Hour in the later days, it's like you're just running into the pros. Like that's the only people still playing the game. You have no hope. And I knew this was going to happen with Pavlov eventually, where there's going to be this skill, like this divide in the skill sets of people who are just kind of playing the game to have fun, and these pros. And if they're mixed, then you're going to run into problems. That's why I wanted to get it at launch, play it up front, so I can at least enjoy the game while everybody else is getting their bearings. Now, the solution to what you're asking for is ranked matchmaking, some kind of matchmaking process where it keeps tabs on your average kill to death ratio, and you get ranked by people appropriate to your skill level. It's probably hard to implement, especially with something as limited as a user base as Pavlov. I think they're working on crossplay, which will open up the user base a bit, maybe make that more possible. The other thing is that if you have this kind of like ranked matchmaking, then you can have unranked matches, and people who are really good and really care are going to play ranked matches. People who aren't really good or just farting around can do the unranked matches, and so it kind of gives you more of that randomized skill set. But the really good thing that the skill level is getting so high is that it starts promoting this idea of like competitive esports type gaming for Pavlov, and it could be becoming this like go-to game for people that really want to get good at a first-person shooter, get good at Pavlov, and that in and of itself is going to start promoting and giving the game its legs that carry it on, and help out PSVR2 in general. So I'm glad people are getting that good. I'm glad people are playing it enough to where they can get that good. I'm sorry that it's happening to you and there's no ranked matchmaking, but of course that's something that can be implemented in DLC. As far as the drifting you mentioned, I encountered that a lot too, and I wonder it seems to only happen in Pavlov for me, so I don't think it's a hardware issue. I think it's really like a software issue. And I wonder if, since it's like an online multiplayer game, if it might be like a netcode issue. Like, because it's constantly having to know where your inputs are, where your hands are, with respect to the rest of the game, all the other players, because that determines where you're aiming, right? And where you're aiming and where you're shooting has direct impact on the other person playing across the world. So maybe that's part of the issue. I'm not sure. It is frustrating as hell when it happens. I haven't played since the update, but maybe it's gotten worse, which is really unfortunate if that's the case. But that also means that it's something that it could potentially fix with another software update. So let's hope that comes sooner than later. But no, Pavlov's just a really good time. It's better than it has any right to be for just being like out of the gate, so damn good, nice little Counter-Strike clone. I think the game modes could be tweaked a little bit, but it's a fun time.
Do you realize we don't have Pavlov listed on our review or our all-time rankings?
We haven't reviewed it.
The thing is, I don't think we need to actually review it. It's an older game. There's no reason to review it. I say we put it on right now.
Right now. Okay, sure. Yeah, let's do this. Let's go wild. Here's what I want to do, Adam. I want you to look at the list and you think of the number. I don't want to know where you want to put it, and I'll think of where I want to put it. Okay. Where's this going?
I think I already know. I've got a number.
Okay. On the count of 3, say your number out loud. 1, 2, 3, 6.
3. What?
3.
6?
3.
What? You think it's better than or you think Demio is better? You think Runner is better? I love me some Runner. Don't get me wrong, dude. It's not as good as Pavlov. What the effort? What is your rationale? You fool!
Here's my problem with Pavlov.
Big nippled idiot.
My problem with Pavlov is that it's multiplayer only. The single player is just boring. It's no good.
It's like poning noobs.
Yeah, I don't want to play bots. I don't want to just shoot fish in a barrel. That's what Pavlov's single player is. You're shooting fish in a barrel. I
Dude,
don't
it's
want to do
fun
that.
if you make it fun. You get the Vader 1 and boom, you busted. It's fun.
Again, this is Adam. Adam just wants to succeed at a game. He doesn't want to be challenged in any capacity.
Okay, so why 6? What?
So I granted, yeah, it's a better game than Before Your Eyes. I think long term, I'm gonna have more fun in Demio because the single player I enjoyed that, and multiplayer I enjoyed that. So
You're
it's
never
got
gonna
longer.
play it because you never have 3 hours of free time to sit and just play a game.
That's true. When I get done reviewing games, I might revisit this back catalog a bit. I haven't played enough Runner to. I wouldn't necessarily put it above Demio, so that's why I put 6. You want to put it above Song in the Smoke?
I do. The thing, again, I love Runner. Just Pavlov is better. It's just how it is. Maybe you could have an argument that Song in the Smoke is better. I wouldn't fight you too hard on that. I think at that point it's a personal preference. And for me, I like the gameplay of Pavlov. I like the fact that boom, I die, I'm instantly back. The game's over. Guess what? Within 1 minute, you're playing another game. It does everything that Firewall should have done. So I just have more fun in it. I don't mind the single player, but the multiplayer, all the different methods of prop hunt, team deathmatch,
that's true.
sudden death, the gun game. Like there's so much variety.
A lot of that doesn't work in single player. Like you can't play prop hunt in single player really. You can't play the terrorist and Trouble Town or whatever it's called, TTT. You can't play that in single player. But it's really nice that those are gameplay modes and people are playing them and they're really good. So I'm okay with putting it above Demio. I think based on what you've said, I'm happy putting it above Runner too. I just think Song in the Smoke is more bang for your buck in terms of VR experience and gaming. I'm a guy who really likes single player gaming. Also with Pavlov, like 3 hours of playing Pavlov, you've seen all it has to offer. I mean, what it offers is good, but you've seen all it has to offer.
Yeah, after playing an hour and a half of Song in the Smoke, you don't want to see what else is.
No, that's no way. You're just bad. Again, Adam just wants to succeed. Song in the Smoke is challenging. Adam refuses to play it. So yeah, we'll put Pavlov at number 4.
I feel like that a compromise would be to put it at 4 beneath Song in the Smoke.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. It's definitely one of the best games on PSVR2. And it's going to be up there for a long time. And maybe they'll release DLC. We can revisit that ranking. But I think that's a great spot for it. It's one of the must-have games for PSVR2. So that sounds good to me.
Who knows what? Maybe Firewall will come in, and maybe they'll be able to beat Cactus Cowboy at the bottom. If not, they'll be on the bottom. Maybe Crossfire, Sierra Crossfire, whatever the name.
Maybe that's like a single-player focused something. Like, man, I just want these games to be good, but it's just the game design is already there and blueprinted for them. So sometimes I feel like developers go this route with this kind of like first-person shooter, multiplayer, fun, have a good time thing because they're lazy. Like, they don't want to think too much about how to make the game. The blueprint's already there for them. They just got to make the assets and put it together. I know that's very, I don't know. I'm really putting down downplaying the effort that it takes to make one of these games. But I just get worried when there's like a million first-person shooter military things. It's like they can't all be good, and they often aren't all good. But I'd love for them to be good. Yeah,
that's fair. Sweet, Alex. I think we'll take a break. We'll come back with segment 2, folks. And Alex wants to talk about Moss Book 2. We're going to talk about what is the best era of gaming and why is it? Is it nostalgia? Is there an actual best era of gaming? Just some random thought I had. We got sales. We got more discussions. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you at the other end of the break.
to Play PSVR2, the podcast segment 2. And speaking of segment 2, we are going to review Moss Book 2, also known as segment 2 of the Moss franchise. So, Adam, you got anything to say? Should we get right into it?
I want to know, how's the Pennywort treating you? You haven't complained.
It was disgusting. I drink it as fast as I could. It's absolutely disgusting. It tastes like drinking a bunch of plants. And it looks like a uterus on the can, so I don't, it's...
And we know Alex doesn't like those.
People like uterus? I don't...
Listen, if I were a baby, I'd eat that, but I'm not. So, like fetus, they eat those things, don't they?
Absolutely
wait, no, that's
not.
placenta. Oh, that's a placenta. My bad. I get mixed up. I haven't had a child. I don't know the intricacies of childbirth, Alex.
Listen, Adam hasn't eaten a placenta in years, so he's not going to be able to stay abreast of all the terminology. But yeah, Adam.
Dude, the next time I go out to eat, or I'm on a date, or I'm talking to someone like really close and it's tight quarters, like at a basketball, football game or something, I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm so sorry, my breath smells like uterus. Like instead of like eating a hot dog with a bunch of onions, it's uterus breath.
Oh, uterus breath.
I like this idea. Let's get started.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, our defendant today is defending itself not only against the allegations of quality, but also against the allegations of all good sequels. What once was a landmark title in a sea of experimental first-person shovelware, Moss helped break ground on PSVR as one of the first titles to showcase the benefits of VR in both third-person adventure, but also interpersonal connections. But now that Astrobot and many others have taken advantage of this direction of gameplay, Moss Book 2 stands before us today. Is it more of the same, or is it delivering a promise made by its hasty predecessor? Moss Book 2, please take the stand. Moss Book 2, the developer and publisher, again, is Polyarch. The price is $29.99 by itself. You can get it in a bundle with Moss Book 1 for $39.99, and our review copy was provided by the publisher Polyarch, so thank you for that. Moss, you are being charged with 1 count of zootropic diversification, 1 count of small things and small packages, and 1 count of dramatic post-climactic clarity. And with that, we'll discuss the first charge of zootropic diversification. Now, the nice thing about Moss Book 2, something you want to see in any sequel for any action, adventure, RPG, is you get new weapons, of course. In Moss Book 1, you had the sword. That's about all you had. Had a couple of fun abilities. But in Moss Book 2, it's not just the sword. You get a chakra boomerang. You get some other weapons, and so that adds diversity in one of the core components of the gameplay where you're moving around these environments and fighting enemies. They also add new interactions, so no longer are you just kind of an idle viewer on the side who maybe moves a couple blocks. You as the reader have enhanced interactions, and this one is going to sound so stupid, but I freaking loved it, and it was maybe my favorite thing to do in the game. Adam, do you remember in Moss how there would be like barrels that you could break and sometimes there'd be confetti coming out of them?
I do not, but I like that idea.
In Moss Book 1, there was like boxes and barrels throughout the environment, and you would just go through and hit them with your sword and they would break, and you'd get like glitter or confetti or something like that. In Moss Book 2, you can actually use the controller to aim at them and shoot them. So while I'm running around the environment, I can look and find a vase or a block or a brick or something and shoot it, and it pops. And so the first thing I loved to do anytime I got into a new room was find all of them and then look around and shoot them with my 2 controllers. It has zero effect on the gameplay at all, on like the game at large, but it was so freaking fun, and it had the haptic triggers have a satisfying like pop when you do it. It's so good. Things like that, but also important elements of just how you end up behaving. The move sets that you have, you combine with Quill in the game to have new attacks that utilize both you and Quill to make these attacks happen. So this increased quote-unquote reader interaction, that's the player character, have been introduced. There's also new abilities, new combat abilities, new exploration abilities, extra platforming elements. So now you are able to create bridges from nature. You're able to create, walls that you can climb on and stuff like that. And everything's kind of set in stone. So it's not like there's new flexibility in how you can solve puzzles, but it's just new elements to interact with the environment with, and that's a welcome addition. And there's new reasons to explore. So, like I said, you get new weapons, but you can also customize how Quill looks. If you get enough of that glitter from breaking boxes, there's secret doors you can find that will unlock a new outfit, which changes nothing about the gameplay as far as I could tell, but it is fun to just have Quill run around looking different than she has for the past hour or so. But the biggest reason that I like Moss Book 2 is there are new enemies and new boss fights. Moss Book 1 had maybe one boss fight. There was arena battles that you'd have with the 3 enemy types that you had, but now they've added extra enemies, maybe 2 or 3 more, so it's double the amount of enemies you have, but every major element, every major level of the game has a boss fight, and the boss fights are so good and so fun that I really appreciate that those were included. So, on the charge of zootropic diversification, I find Moss Book 2 guilty. Adam, you got any questions?
So, which one of these new features, these new things with Book 2, has the most impact using the new technology, the haptic feedback, the triggers, the head rumble? I want to know, why is this special for PSVR 2?
So, Moss Book 1 was made first on the PSVR and then ported to other systems. Moss Book 2 was made in conjunction with other systems and also put on the PSVR 1. And I say that to highlight the fact that this game seems designed around you having 2 hands that you can use to navigate the environment, whereas on PSVR 1, you would have the DualShock, so you'd have 1 point of interaction with the environment. So, although it's not exclusive to PSVR 2, the ability to have 2 hands to interact with the environment with is one of the biggest things that works well on Moss Book 2. Now, there are things like enhanced, there's head haptics and stuff. The 3D audio works really well. I don't know if there's eye tracking necessarily, but the environments are lush and beautiful and crisp and clean. The haptics of the controllers, like I said, pointing and shooting the barrels and feeling that rumble in the controller, that was a very nice touch, and it really sold those new ways of playing around with the environment. So probably the advanced haptics of the controller are really important. The head haptics was just always a welcome addition, but it wasn't anything game-changing. But having 2 controllers as opposed to moving that one DualShock around is very necessary. All right. Moving on to the second charge, the charge of small things in small packages. Now, of course, we anticipated this with Moss Book 2, especially based on how Moss Book 1 went, but this game is short. It feels about 10 to 20% longer than the first game. There's maybe 1 or 2 more distinct levels, although there's a bit of revisiting and backtracking, not in a bad way, but just you come to the same place a couple of times. So I'd say the game overall is about 4 to 5 hours in length. Compare that to, for a first run through a Moss Book 1, you're probably going to have about 3 to 4 hours of gameplay. And about the levels, although they're intertwined this time, whereas Moss Book 1, you're kind of just procedurally going through environments, there is kind of a hub world in Moss Book 2, and the levels are intertwined, but they do feel a bit less sprawling than they did in Moss Book 1, and that's kind of weird. But I liken this to something that you would see in like the classic Zelda games, where you go into a dungeon and each little block on that map would be its own little self-contained arena, and there'd be stuff to do in there, but then you'd move on and you'd have just as quickly have forgotten that previous room. This feels like that, whereas instead of a large environment you're moving through and seeing different facets of, it does really feel like you're kind of going into these mini rooms one at a time, which isn't bad, but it's just... the beauty of Moss is that you are supposed to be navigating this really large environment, and they sell that well in sometimes, but for the most part, you do feel like you're going to distinct little rooms and solving puzzles. Not the worst thing in the world, but it just, the scale seems smaller, although everything presents itself as bigger. Maybe the biggest knock I have against Moss Book 2, though, is that it is pretty easy. The game at times feels almost like a tutorial for the new ability that you have. So you get some new ability, and then the next levels you have are kind of just showing you how to use that new ability, and then before you know it, you're done with that dungeon. And then anytime you have to use that new ability, it's more or less like written for you on the ground, or there's something in the environment basically telling you exactly when to use that new ability. So there's a little lack of flexibility there. But given the scope of the game, it's not too game-breaking. But yeah, it kind of streamlines or railroads a lot of the puzzles that you're solving. Though you still have to think, figure out how they interact, so it doesn't ruin the puzzles. But with these new abilities and these new ways to interact with the environment, there's also new platforming elements. And the platforming, I'll say, is around 95% of it is just fine. It's good and it works well. There's about 5% of the time it's kind of frustrating where either Quill seems kind of floaty, or there's a ledge that she should jump on, but you hit the button like a second too late or didn't hold it down long enough. And it's like, why didn't you just grab that ledge? Really, the game has a lot of contextual behavior in its platforming, which, like I said, works for the most part, but when it doesn't, it's kind of annoying. And it feels a lot like a very scaled down diet version of Uncharted. I definitely got some like Uncharted vibes from the platforming, for better or worse. Sometimes that works really well, sometimes it doesn't work that well. Adam, you got anything about that second charge?
Suffice it to say that if you liked the overall way that Moss Book 1 plays, you'll also like it for Book 2.
Yeah, it's just that, but better for the most part. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, then moving on for the third charge of dramatic post climactic clarity. Now, Moss is a storybook game. You're reading a book in a library and it's telling you a story. And they present it a bit differently. It seems like there's a lot more dialogue in this game than there was in the other. And sometimes it feels childish, but it is supposed to be like a kid's storybook. But now the story's kind of reaching out to you as the reader as well in ways that it didn't quite do that in the first one. So that's one nice thing that they've enhanced the game. They've enhanced the drama of the game and how you feel connected to the game. But the story, it seems like it's, MacGuffin driven. And again, this isn't supposed to be some Oscar winning movie, but for those that don't know, MacGuffin's something that it's just an element in a story that just serves to propel the plot. In this game, you are moving around, going to these different levels to try to acquire all the pieces of glass from the different, forest creatures. Although I will say there is a twist in the latter half of the game that was welcome and kind of gave that last half of the game a little jolt of excitement. It wasn't a huge twist, but it was just something that I did not see coming. It came, it went, and I appreciated that it was there. All that being said, the final act of the game, the final level, went in a direction that I totally didn't expect, and it was thrilling, and had mind-bending design that could only work in VR, and it really proved to Moss's credit that it is a VR game and not just a flat game that happens to be in VR, which is what a lot of people said about Moss Book 1. They say you could have done it in not VR, it just happens to be in VR. The last segment, it only works in VR, and it works brilliantly, and it's thrilling. I don't want to spoil it because it was super surprising for me. I had no idea I was about to encounter it, and it was absolutely awesome. And so I will say that the ending, while comprehensive, has the story concludes, but it has an amazing setup for future explorations of the franchise that I really can't wait to see. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but just knowing where this can go after the fact, it's just a great way to end this game, a great way to end this, 2-game series. And I'm really impressed with what they ended up pulling off and something that I had relatively low expectations for.
All right.
Anything,
so
Adam?
On that third charge.
Yeah, so on the third charge, I find you for post-climactic clarity. Guilty.
I figured my last question here is Moss kind of took us by storm. The diorama effect, the cuteness of Moss herself was novel at the time. And so you felt connected to Moss. It was a new type of genre of VR game. Like you mentioned with some of Book 2, it worked extremely well in virtual reality and only in virtual reality. That same spark we initially felt with Moss when it was released, did any of that come back with Book 2? Or because you already knew kind of going in what it was going to be about, did it not have the same awe-inspiring effect that Book 1 did?
It initially didn't. And part of that might have been because I just finished Moss Book 1 again. Part of that, I imagine the developers understood that was the case. And I think that's why they added in so many new elements to this game, whereas a lot of people probably would have been fine with just more of Moss Book 1. Although I will say, like I said, that final act totally hit that spark. It did it better than Moss Book 1 ever hit me. It was just truly like I don't want to explain it because it was such a good surprise, but it was so well done and great, and it really hammered home that this is a VR game, a great showcase and utilization of VR for this type of game. So the spark wasn't there initially, ended up, exploding with it.
I have a feeling I know what the final verdict is, but I've got to hear it from the judge himself.
Yeah, straight from the judge's mouth. For these three charges, and for everything we've said above, I find Moss Book 2 on the charge of being a game worth your time. Guilty. Guilty as hell. Adam, this game is so damn good. It's so damn good. It is a great VR game. It is a great game in its own right, but it's a great game on PSVR2. And like I said, Moss Book 1 is a must play for the PSVR 1. Moss Book 2 is just as much a must play for the PSVR 2. So yeah, I have no real lingering complaints about the game other than it is kind of short, which leads me to my question, Adam. The next step, of course, is we're going to be ranking this game. Now, I want to ask you, do we rank Moss Book 1 and 2 together, considering they are sold together for $40, or do we need to rank Moss Book 1 and 2 separately?
I think we should do it separately. They're different games, and like me, I'm not going to play Book 1 again. There's just no way.
Yeah.
So if we rank them together, I think that would hinder Book 2 for reaching its ultimate, what it should be in terms of the ranking. So I say you rank it separately. And before you do that, I do have some questions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm thrifty, Alex. I'm very thrifty. So I understand that this is a glowing recommendation from you. Again, you like most games, so I struggle with this. You always put me in a dilemma. For $30, do you think I should still play this? You know I didn't love Book 1. Do you think I should wait for a sale? You said it was a must play, so that, as bad as I hate to, that makes me feel like I do need to play it. It's just, do I suck it up and pay the $30, or do I wait for a sale?
So I think one of the reasons I'm speaking about, my recommendation for you is wait for a sale potentially. I think one of the reasons you didn't like Moss Book 1 is because Moss Book 1 really did kind of hang on the, oh, isn't Quill so cute? I want to take care of Quill. I care about what happens to Quill. Whereas Moss Book 2, really doesn't harp on that as much. You still interact with her and she's still cute and, animated and stuff like that. But that's less the focus. It's not like I'm caretaking this little creature, because Moss Book 1 proves that she's a capable little character. So if that was the thing that put you off on Moss Book 1, that's not really there this time. For me, Moss, the issue with both of these is that they are so short. They're done when they feel like they're just getting going. And that's why I had the question of, should we rank them together? Because if you pay $40 and you get both of the games, and that, is probably somewhere around 10 hours of gameplay, that's a pretty good deal, and it's a good price tag. You as a person who played Moss Book 1, you don't have any reason to play it again. I think you might want to wait for a sale. But if you're somebody who really liked Moss Book 1 like I did, you're going to really love Moss Book 2. And if you, like me, waited to play it on PSVR 2, you're going to really like Moss Book 2. So, Adam, I say you probably like $20 and under. But for anybody who's really excited about Moss, they want to play the second one finally, do it. $30 is a steep price tag, but for that 5 hours that you're playing it, it's some of the best PSVR 2 gaming you can get.
So if I threaten to not play it at all, will you tell me what you like so much about the ending?
Yeah. I mean, I'll just show you the review footage. You're going to think it's stupid, but I just thought it was great. And
So I thought it was something like game changing, but what you just said makes me feel like maybe I overestimated what you were saying.
It is game changing in the sense that I never thought to go that direction for this kind of game, and it went that direction, and it did it very well. Yeah, I hate to be that guy that just keeps talking about a secret and he can't explain the secret, but I just really don't want to spoil it for people. So, yeah, I tell you offline, Adam, exactly what happens.
Does Moss die?
No, that's not.
I would be all for.
No,
I would pay $35 if that.
This is a gameplay.
Yeah, that rodent fell in one of. Have you watched the YouTube videos of people killing mice and rats? They are so creative.
Oh, I'm not going to watch those YouTube videos. I did think when Moss drowned in one of the times I was playing the game, I thought about an old video I saw where somebody like dropped a mouse in like a piranha cage or like a snake cage, and it was in water, and the snake bit half the mouse off, and the top half of the mouse was just trying to swim away while his guts were spilling out in the back, and I felt so bad, and I felt so bad for Moss, and I felt so bad for that mouse.
Dude, I would play that game. Like, yeah, if you go seriously, when you guys have some time, go on YouTube. They've got so many creative ways for like farms. Mice will
Mm.
reproduce and they're freaking everywhere. And they've got these little buckets of water and there's peanut butter on a little spool. So they run to get the peanut butter, but because then they're in the middle of the bucket, the spool starts to spin and then they fall in the water, and either they put just enough water so they don't drown, but they can't get out, and then they put them out in the field, or they put a bunch of water and I guess they drown. They've got pneumatic things that they'll walk into like a tube, because again, there's peanut butter or food, and just bang, it just and instantly kills them. There's no pain. Incredible. It's
Welcome
so cool.
to
Alex, we need to move on.
welcome
What
to
is your
PlayPSVR2,
rating?
your favorite YouTube snuff film review website. Goodness gracious, Adam. Oh, my ranking. Oh my, way to derail the beautiful Moss review that I just gave to you. I want to put, okay, since we're doing it by itself, and I do think the length is a serious issue with Moss, just how short it is, because I wanted more and more and more. I can't put it at number 3. If we were reviewing them together, I'd probably put it at number 3. Moss Book 2.
What the what?
Yeah, man.
My.
Combined, it's just one of the best sets of gaming you can get. It's like people said when Moss Book 1 came out, it was having its Mario 64 moment, VR was. I want to put Moss Book 2 by itself. Let's put that under Pavlov, above Runner. It's certainly better than Runner, certainly better than Demio. Pavlov, it's got like a heralded ranking for just how good it is. I say Moss Book 2 should be number 5 on our list.
Your call. I can't say anything about it. So
You're not allowed to say anything, and you will be sued and sent to gaming court if you try to say something about it.
such bullcrap. We really do. We keep a list of who the reviewer was, because it
That's
plays a
important,
huge
yeah.
factor. Every game, Alex, literally all of my games are near the bottom. And it's bullcrap. It's
All
not
2
because
of the
I'm
games
playing
Adam
worse
played.
Games. It's because I'm realistic about how these games are played. And Alex is just he's so happy to play a video game in his personal life in general. It could be turd sucking 101 VR, and he's like, oh, I could taste it. The haptic feedback and it's incredible. I gotta put it right behind Resident Evil 8. I mean, it's insane.
It's a good problem to have, although it's funny that I'm so happy to finally be playing a video game. I'm the one that's done 90% of these reviews here, Adam.
Bull crap.
Yeah, you
You
did.
can suck a big one. That's not true
I guess
at all.
you've come back up, but like Puzzling Places, Afterlife VR, like these are not games to review. These are just kind of things you tinker with for a bit and then you move on with your life. Moss's quality.
You're so full of crap.
You're like a film critic who only reviews like Transformers and Fast and the Furious, and I'm a film critic who's reviewing Citizen
up
Kane.
in what you wanted to play, and
Fair enough.
I can't help it, dude. That you're picking all the crap of games.
You're probably the only person. I mean, you did get called out on YouTube for your Afterlife VR review. They were like, "Why does everybody else hate this game?" But it's like the one bad game on PSVR2 you for some reason love. And I defended you, Adam. I defended you.
I didn't see that comment.
Yeah,
What the heck?
yeah. I defended you, Adam. And here you're making me eat my words.
Wait, what? Why do they? So no one else likes it? People are so stupid.
It got like a
what
5 out
are
of 10
your-
and stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't agree with their assessment necessarily, the bad reviews I saw, but I think you made your case well for Afterlife, Adam, just like I made my case well for Moss Book 2, and it deserves its damn spot at number 5. You're not going to take that away from me.
So I've reviewed 8 games.
That means I've reviewed 9 or 10.
You've only reviewed 7.
No, we have joint games. 1, 2,
We have
3,
joint
4,
games, but those
5,
count for both of us.
6,
So I mean,
7,
whatever.
8, 9, 10, 11, Adam. I reviewed 11 games.
Yeah, with the games that we did together, but I also get those. So the whole point is I've reviewed more games than you have.
No.
Yeah, read it.
No way. No way.
Read
Well,
it.
I'm
Read
going to
it
listen
and
to
weep,
every single
butthole.
episode of this podcast, Adam. Adam, we got to move on. We got stuff to cover. Get out of here. Well, I do want to ask you a question, Adam. Playing this diorama approach of Moss, it really got me thinking about other games that could benefit from this diorama VR thing. The obvious thing I thought of was, did you ever play Smash TV back in the day, like Super Nintendo?
I didn't play it, but I know of it.
Yeah, you're two guys. You walk into a room, the enemies come at you, you shoot them, and then you go to a new room, you do the same thing. That would be so fun in VR, especially with this diorama. You move and you're in this VR environment. You're shooting dudes, and you can even make it 3D since it's in VR. That would be incredible. But the other thing I'd really love to see, and I wish people would do more with Moss. The whole time I'm playing Moss, I'm thinking, man, I just want to see another type of game with this kind of approach to VR. Resident Evil. Did you ever play the old Resident Evils, like Resident Evil 1 or 2? Not any of these remakes?
I've watched them. I have not physically played them.
Yeah, so those games have that standard, like that static camera view, right? So,
Hmm.
like a VR Resident Evil, like PS1 Resident Evil in VR would be so scary. That static view and your character's like moving far away and back and forth. It would be so much more frightening, especially with like the environment around you being so dark and scary. They can even mess with the scale. Oh, there's so much cool stuff. But I don't know. Is there any kind of game that you want to see with this approach?
I mean, I almost could not disagree with you more. I mean, this is the only way that I would want a game like this is if it were like Astrobot. And the only reason Astrobot works is because it is so insanely creative. It's so engaging and you're so involved in the gameplay. It's not just you controlling Moss like much of, again, at least book one was. So I unless someone in a studio is willing to be that creative and that engaging, I think it would flop. You might as well just play a game on flat on PS5. And
But you liked Preda Vendetta Rising.
true, I liked it, but it's not. We have a list at that time. It wouldn't be super high because it wasn't. I enjoyed it as essentially a flat game. You're right. Virtual reality was. It wasn't. It wasn't reality at all. It was just playing a flat game really close to my face, and I mean, I guess I could look around but yeah, it wasn't really. It should have been a VR game. Now I will admit, in flat gaming, I love those type of views, like
Yeah.
at Near Replicant when you start to go into the basement of the mansion. As I forgot what I guess as a meal when he's still a human, he that was incredible. I
Yeah.
love those views in flat games, but VR, no, I don't want this crap. Diorama, no thanks.
Diarrhea. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
made the
See,
joke for you. Yeah.
so Alex, I keep seeing, and it's not like always, but fairly often for a while, I've seen people are like, the absolute best era in gaming was GameCube and PS2 and Dreamcast and whatever Xbox was out at the time. And it always makes me wonder, do you think that it's just nostalgia that the person was obviously, a little older, so the most meaningful time, if I had to guess, that they could actually comprehend and enjoy all the games was that era? Or do you think the era of those games truly were better? And the whole reason I bring this up is because not only am I curious, like, really? Like, GameCube is that much better than the Switch? Like, you like PS2 games better than PS4 and 5 games? I can't comprehend that. But also, here in 10 years, will we be saying, oh, PSVR 1 was the era of PSVR gaming, or maybe even PSVR 2? Like, it just makes me wonder about the future. You got any thoughts about either one of those?
Yeah, I mean the real, like you mentioned, PS2, GameCube, Xbox era, a little bit of Dreamcast, but that was a bit too early to be in that generation. Um, that gets heralded as like a great era for good reason. A lot of classic games came out. Think about like Metal Gear Solid 2, Metroid Prime, Halo. Um, but all of those gameplay styles were kind of done on the PS1 and 64 consoles. And you made me think when you mentioned this about how these game generations work, especially when it's like a revolutionary change, where you had the NES, which was like first home console, 8-bit system, and the games were good, but it was always kind of you meeting the developers in the middle of like, here's a game design idea, and I see what they're going for, and let's play and have fun, and the games could be fun. But then Super Nintendo and Genesis comes out, and it's like, oh, all these things they wanted to do last gen, they can actually do now. And so now we get to see their fully realized game design. And then the PlayStation came out, and you had 3D games, and suddenly you had this experimental phase again, but then PS2 comes out, and all the things they wanted to do in PS1, they could do in PS2. Which brings me to the idea of VR, where you have this generational leap. PSVR 1 was this experimental state. I mean, you could tell these games were trying to do something, but they just couldn't quite pull it off because they didn't have the hardware, didn't have the controller. But I think PSVR 2, hopefully, if they keep making games, you're going to hit that sweet spot. And you already see it to an extent. Look at Resident Evil 8 compared to Resident Evil 7 in terms of how that VR game plays. Look at Gran Turismo 7 versus Gran Turismo Sport, looking at what they wanted to do in VR versus what they're actually doing in VR. And then even look at a game that spans the generations, Song in the Smoke. The game on PSVR 1 is, a good game, and you can see what they're going for. On PSVR 2, it works really damn well, and it's really exciting. So I think as long as people buy PSVR 2s and people are making games for it, I do think 10 years down the road we're going to be like, man, PSVR 2, what an era! You had these games come out, and it was just awesome.
Well, speaking of these games, they're on sale. This is the first sale segment of the PSVR 2 era. Let's do it, baby. I'm maybe a little rusty, Alex, so give me a little leeway here, but let's get popping.
Yeah, so Adam, I'm going to tell you a game, tell you the price. You're going to tell the listeners or the viewers if they're going to buy it or not. And we're going to start right out of the gate. I know what the answer is going to be. Thumper for $7.99.
My first instinct is one. Oh. My first instinct was like, buy this hoe. But then one, I was like, wait for it to be free. But it was already free. I don't see them making it free again. So you're going to have to buy it. Two, if you've already played it, then obviously you can just get the upgrade. If you haven't played Thumper, I'm sorry. You have to.
Yeah, this is it. If you haven't,
you just have to. So yes, you got to buy it.
All right. What about Gorn for $9.99? Now this is the PS4 version, but it's a free upgrade to PS5.
The game just doesn't look that great. Like it's cartoony. I guess it's fairly gory, but it's cartoon gore. Who cares? I want to see like Saints and Sinners where I'm shoving or even Pavlov shooting someone's head off and blood goes everywhere. Skip Gorn. Find something better to play.
All right. How about Fantavision 2020X for $14.99?
I'm seeing double vision because I'm not playing this crap. $14.99. Save your money and play something good.
Buy Thumper twice. No, I might get this. I'm interested in the game, but I got too much on the plate right now. Tetris Effect Connected, $19.99 for the PS4 version, which needs a $10 upgrade, or just straight up $29.99 for the PS5 version.
I would rather spend $20 on toilet paper, eat half of it, and the other 17 rolls use it to wipe my butt. No, I wouldn't buy this game again. Freaking sucks. The upgrade, F that. If they make it free, I'll upgrade. I have not played Tetris Effect. Screw you, Will. Screw you, J-Brat. Screw you, Shafe Dog. And everyone else who's like, oh, he loves Tetris Effect. I don't love it. I haven't played it. I'm not upgrading it.
Listeners, just let it be known, Adam is not upgrading it because he could not keep himself from playing it if he did upgrade it. This is how he cures himself of the addiction. He freaking platinumed that game. He's played it more than anybody you know. Cave Digger 2, Dig Harder for $14.99.
I'm sorry. The game, I think, is fine. I've played it. It's good. Well, it's okay. It's not $15. I mean, if you've played every other game and you're just hankering for some more PSVR 2, buy it. But it doesn't have a good enough experience. Dig, I don't know, that money back out of your wallet or put it back in. I don't know. There's something to be said there. Move on.
Dig a hole to put your money in so you don't spend it on this game. That's what you're saying. I will say, I liked it. Adam hasn't played it on VR2. We're going to review it later. After the Fall, the complete edition for $18.59.
Yeah, great. I bought it for $30. This is why I don't buy games, Alex. I could have just not played it twice. The only 2 times I probably will ever played it and saved $10, but the game isn't that good. I know Alex is going to be like, oh, I love it. It's not that good. I would play more Pavlov. If you came to me and you go, hey, let's play a game, Pavlov is it. I would never play After the Fall.
All right, because Adam wants to succeed against bots. Last Labyrinth for $22.49. And Adam, I included a picture here. This is the picture on the PlayStation Store, and it really looks like that girl's popping a squat, doesn't it?
Listen, If she were 22.49, buy. But it's not the woman, it's the game, so don't buy it.
All right. Res Infinite for 22.49.
Oh.
What if somebody had never played Res before, Adam? This is their chance to get into it. 22.49.
If you've never played it, you just have to. But yeah, I mean, you just have to. It's incredible. If you've already played it for PSVR, though, I hate to do it, Alex. I'm gonna say it's not worth it.
Then they could just upgrade if they really wanted to. But
For $10, not worth it. Okay, move on.
how about Demio for $29.99?
I would not play Demio again. You could say I am gonna give you genital syphilis for the rest of your life if you need to spend 4 more hours in Demio. Thankfully, they got drugs for that because I ain't playing it.
Name one other type of syphilis besides genital.
Inner ear, cochlea. I don't know.
Hey, you might be right. Yeah. Cosmonius High for $22.49.
You gotta be high to play this game. Boo! Move on.
I just bought it. Vacation Sim for.
You freaking idiot.
I bought it for my kids. Yeah. Vacation Sim for $22.49.
You have to be even higher to play this stupid game. No, I played on PSVR 1. Sucked.
It's a free upgrade for what it's worth.
What?
It's a free upgrade.
I don't care. They can pay me to upgrade it. I'm still not playing it. A game isn't good.
They can pay me to upgrade. Job Simulator for $14.99.
Will you get off, man? No. Anything that I have to simulate, I'm not doing.
Let it be known the only game Adam has recommended has been the $7 game. Nothing above $7 gets a thumbs up from Adam. Synth Riders for $18.99.
This one interests me because it's supposed to be a party game. You're gonna look like a freaking idiot, but I'll consider it.
Somebody looking for that Beat Saber itch to be scratched. Synth Riders is the way to go, from what I hear. Cities VR for $23.99.
This looks intriguing, but I mean, you're gonna have to put time in, right? I mean, it's not just a pick up and play type game. If that is your style, I think this is a buy. If it's not, then I just don't think it's worth that much money because you're gonna have to invest the time.
Yeah, Adam, you might like it. You liked Trainer VR, so maybe you could do some funny stuff.
Trainer
with this.
VR was fast, and I could make stuff explode. I don't know if I can do that here.
All right. Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, I bought Synth Riders at full price. I haven't played it yet. So again, I'm already suffering from buying games too early. I need to wait for sales. Yeah.
You're so dumb. I hope you enjoyed Alex's strep throat and my insatiable thirst. And I'm not just thirsty for content. I'm thirsty for you, for your ears, for your support. Subscribe to our podcast. Leave us a review. Find us on Gaming is in Session on YouTube, Gaming Court on Twitter, and shoot us an email, contact@playpsvr.com. Do you want to be like Bruce? Do you want to join us? Well, do it. Do you think you have better opinions on sales? Try me. You want to one-up Alex and swallow his pennywort? Be my guest, both literally and figuratively. Thank you for listening to Play PSVR2, the podcast, where virtual reality is our reality.
Blammo!